ascending. The third question is ascending fibers or tracts. Which ascending tracts we have here just at the tegmentum? So here we have the medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus. What is the medial lemniscus? Medial lemniscus is an ascending tract. So imagine that the first order neuron is outside the spinal cord. Here within the dorsal root ganglion, we have the cell body of the first order neuron, and then first order neuron getting into the spinal cord, getting into this dorsal white column. That's why this tract is known as the dorsal column tract, and it goes up through the spinal cord and getting into the medulla oblongata, synapsing onto the gracile and cuneate nuclei of the medulla oblongata, synapsing with the second order neuron, and then second order neuron decussating to the opposite side and passing through the brainstem to get into the thalamus. It is known as the medial lemniscus. So medial lemniscus is formed by the second order neuron of the dorsal column tract and synapsing onto the third order neuron into the thalamus, and then third order neuron axon goes up to the somatosensory cortex. So this is the midbrain. Into the midbrain we have medial lemniscus. It is just posterior to the substantia nigra, and it's carrying the specific sensory information such as the fine touch and conscious proprioceptive. Just a little bit lateral to the medial lemniscus, we have another ascending tract. It's called spinothalamic tract. As its name suggests, it's coming from the spinal cord going up to the thalamus like dorsal column tract. Again, we have three sensory neurons. First order neuron cell body is here, dorsal root ganglion, and then it gets into the horn. This is called dorsal horn of the gray matter of spinal cord, synapses onto the second order neuron, and then the axon of the second order neuron decussating here and then landing the ventral lateral white column, and it goes up like this. It goes up through the spinal cord and passing through the brainstem to get into the thalamus, and then synapses onto the third order neuron into the thalamus, and third order neuron getting into the somatosensory cortex. So if you look at here, the red one represents the spinothalamic, which is next to the medial lemniscus, just lateral to the medial lemniscus. We have a spinothalamic, and it's carrying the pain and temperature sensory information from the skin to the somatosensory cortex. So we have two ascending tracts, just posterolateral to the substantia nigra. Medially we have medial lemniscus, a little bit lateral we have spinothalamic tract. What about the nuclei? Which nuclei we have here? So I'm going to show you the nuclei on the model, then back. If you watch this brainstem model from the posterior view, here is a posterior view of the midbrain. Into the midbrain, there are three nuclei. So down here at the level of the inferior colliculus, we have trochlear nucleus related to the trochlear nerve, cranial nerve 4. And at the level of the superior colliculus, there are two nuclei. In the middle, just above the trochlear nucleus, we have oculomotor nucleus. It is related to the cranial nerve 3. And on top of this, we have another small nucleus. It's called Edinger-Westphal. It's a parasympathetic nucleus related to the cranial nerve 3. So Edinger-Westphal and oculomotor nuclei are at the level of the superior colliculus, and trochlear nucleus is at the level of the inferior colliculus. So if I take a cross section at the level of the inferior colliculus, I can see the trochlear nucleus. So now I'm going to show you the nuclei location into this drawing. So I showed you at the center in the midline we have cerebral aqueduct, which is connecting the third and fourth ventricle together like this here. So around the substantia, cerebral aqueduct, there is a gray matter like this, which is surrounding the cerebral aqueduct. It is called periaqueductal gray, which is related to the defense behavior and also related to the analgesia. So the trochlear nucleus would be here, just anterior to the periaqueductal gray, so it would be here. And the axons of the neuron coming out of the trochlear nucleus and going back like this and wrapping, and this is the only nerve that, as I mentioned before, is coming off from the dorsal surface of the midbrain and then wrapping around the cerebral peduncle and going forward. So this is the trochlear nucleus, just anterior to the periaqueductal gray matter. There is another nucleus here. It's a weird nucleus here we have. It's known as the red nucleus. So red nucleus contains some neurons, the axons of the neurons coming off from the red nucleus and crossing to the opposite side like this and going down through the brainstem and through the spinal cord. So imagine that here we have the red nucleus here, and then the axons crossing to the opposite side and running all the way down and landing here is a lateral white column. So it's like helping the corticospinal tract, so it's related to the movement. So here we have the red nucleus. Another nucleus that I forgot to show you on the model, I'm going to show you the model. Again, this is the posterior view of the midbrain. Here is the midbrain. And you can see into the midbrain we have a long nucleus. It's called the mesencephalic part of the trigeminal nucleus. You know, trigeminal sensory nucleus is really, really long, and you can find it on the whole length of the brainstem. Down here we have a spinal trigeminal in the middle of oblongata, and in the pons you can see this bump. It's called principal nucleus, and up here into the middle midbrain we have the mesencephalic trigeminal nucleus, which is lateral to the other nuclei. So it would be here we have mesencephalic part of the trigeminal nucleus, which is related to the face, carrying the sensory information from the face. So just at the back we have inferior colliculus. So imagine that here we have inferior colliculus, which is receiving the auditory information from the inner ear. So it's related to the audition or auditory information. Now I'm going to take a cross section at the level of the superior colliculus or rostral part of the midbrain. So if I take a cross section at the level of the rostral part here, there is no big change. The only thing that would be changes would be this one, the inferior colliculus replaced with the superior colliculus. So instead of the inferior colliculus at this level, we have superior colliculus, which is involving in visual reflexes because it receives the information, sensory information from the eye. And the other thing about the nuclei, instead of the cranial nerve 4 nucleus, trochlear nucleus, we have the oculomotor nucleus, cranial nerve 3. So we have oculomotor nucleus. Just next to this, we have Edinger-Westphal. Edinger-Westphal is the parasympathetic nucleus related to the cranial nerve 3. So the other structures are not changing, they are remaining. Only thing is superior colliculus, which is replacing, and also cranial nerve 3. We have the oculomotor nucleus and Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Now it's time to test yourself, test your knowledge. The question is, which of the following midbrain structures is primarily responsible for processing auditory information? A. Superior colliculus, B. Inferior colliculus, C. Substantia nigra, D. red nucleus. Please put the correct answer into the comment box and receive feedback. I will answer the question 24 hours after uploading the video on the channel. Thank you so much.